And if he is doing what I think he might be doing in Europe, to guarantee that he's able to go play 65 games this year.
And possibly make a playoff run.
And maybe make the playoffs and make a run with Luka and whatnot. As a fan, if I were a Laker fan, I support it. I support it 100%. I just would rather not be lied to. It just seems very weird to me that he all of a sudden has sciatica out of the blue that we've never heard of before, and we know everything about him because he's a public figure for so long. And then all of a sudden, 3 weeks from now, 5 weeks from now, he's going to show up and play 40 minutes a game and look like he's 25 years old again.
When the Lakers announced that LeBron James would miss the start of the NBA season with sciatica, the basketball world collectively tilted its head like a confused dog. For those who don't know, sciatica is nerve pain that radiates from your lower back down through your leg. It's debilitating, it's painful, and it's typically associated with people who are well past their athletic prime. Desk workers, older folks, people with herniated discs or spinal issues. But LeBron James? A guy who spends literally millions of dollars per year on body maintenance? A guy who has access to the best trainers, nutritionists, and medical professionals money can buy? That guy suddenly has an old person's back problem? The skepticism was immediate and widespread. And it wasn't just coming from hot take artists looking for clicks. Regular fans, former players, media personalities started asking the same question. Does this actually make sense? Because here's the thing, just days before this announcement, LeBron was dancing on Kai Cenat's live stream. He looked healthy, energetic, and completely pain-free. He'd been posting workout videos showing him squatting heavy weight, looking jacked and ready for the season.
Yeah.
Looked pretty good, looked pretty healthy to me right there.
He did.
Yeah, right. Remember when he put out his own video of him working out with like 125 pounds on the barbell, doing squats and whatnot? I mean, he's in great shape, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So what changed in 72 hours? How do you go from dancing and lifting to being unable to play basketball because of severe nerve pain? The timeline didn't add up, and people noticed. This wasn't an isolated incident. If you've been paying attention to LeBron's career over the past several years, there's been a noticeable pattern of strategic absences that coincide suspiciously with less meaningful portions of the season. Regular season games in November, suddenly there's an injury. All-Star break approaches, time for some recovery. Playoff push is still weeks away, let's take some games off for load management. Then, miraculously, when playoff time rolls around, or when games actually start mattering, LeBron returns looking refreshed, rejuvenated, and ready to dominate. Now, to be clear, load management is a legitimate strategy in the modern NBA. Teams recognize that an 82-game season plus playoffs is a grueling marathon, especially for older players. Kawhi Leonard popularized it. The Spurs have been doing it with their veterans for years. But there's a difference between openly declaring you're resting a player for load management purposes and creating elaborate injury narratives that may or may not be entirely truthful. And that's the uncomfortable question at the heart of this whole situation.
Nah, I feel confident because I'm the best player in the world.
LeBron has always been meticulous about his image. He's the self-proclaimed most durable player in NBA history. He's proud of his Iron Man streak, his ability to play heavy minutes deep into his 30s. So openly admitting to load management might damage that carefully crafted narrative. One of the biggest problems LeBron faced with this sciatica announcement was his own history, because this wasn't the first time his injury reporting had raised questions. Remember last year's playoffs? After the Lakers got eliminated, LeBron suddenly revealed he'd been playing with a serious MCL sprain, so severe that he claimed he wouldn't have been able to play in a hypothetical Game 6.
And he has lied about injuries before. Remember when he claimed that he wouldn't have been able to play in Game 6 last year in the playoffs had they not been eliminated because all of a sudden he had some type of MCL.
The problem? The very next day after making this dramatic revelation, LeBron was spotted doing athletic movements and dance moves that would be virtually impossible with a legitimate MCL sprain. People who've actually dealt with MCL injuries were calling bullshit immediately. So now you've created a credibility problem. When you exaggerate or fabricate injuries for narrative purposes, whether it's to explain away a playoff loss or to garner sympathy, people stop believing you when you claim something's actually wrong.
Would you be further surprised that when he comes back from that European vacation, if he suddenly is able to run and play basketball like a kid half his age?
The theory goes like this. LeBron uses the sciatica diagnosis as cover. He takes a medical trip to Europe for some cutting-edge treatments that might raise eyebrows if done publicly. He comes back 3 weeks later, magically healed, looking 10 years younger and ready to dominate. It's not an outlandish theory. The precedent exists, the motivation is clear, and the timing is suspiciously convenient. Here's the thing that makes this whole conversation so complicated. The line between legitimate medical treatment and performance enhancement is incredibly blurry in modern professional sports. Athletes use hyperbaric chambers, they do cryotherapy, they get vitamin IV drips, they use specialized recovery equipment that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. All of this is designed to push their bodies beyond normal human limitations. So where exactly is the line? At what point does medical treatment cross over into unfair advantage? And more importantly, do we actually care as long as our favorite players are performing at elite levels?
And if he is doing what I think he might be doing in Europe, to guarantee that he's able to go play 65 games this year
and possibly make a playoff run,
and maybe make the playoffs and make a run with Luka and whatnot, as a fan, if I were a Laker fan, I support it.
This quote captures the cognitive dissonance perfectly. As fans, we want our athletes to be superhuman. We want them to defy aging, to recover impossibly fast, to perform at levels that seem to violate basic biology. But we also want to maintain the illusion that it's all natural, just hard work, good genetics, and clean living. The reality is probably somewhere in between. LeBron has talked openly about spending over $1 million per year on body maintenance. That's not just gym memberships and organic food. That's access to the most advanced sports medicine available anywhere in the world. And if some of that sports medicine happens to be in European clinics offering treatments that aren't available in the United States, well, that raises some uncomfortable questions about competitive fairness and transparency. Let's really break down the timing here, because it's almost too perfect to be coincidental. The injury was announced right before the regular season starts. The recovery timeline is 3 to 4 weeks. Conveniently, that means LeBron misses the least important stretch of the season, early November games against teams that probably won't matter come playoff time, but comes back before things start getting serious.
It just seems very weird to me that he all of a sudden has sciatica out of the blue that we've never heard of before, and we know everything about him because he's a public figure for so long.
LeBron is one of the most documented athletes in human history. We know about every tweak, every strain, every minor ailment because he shares so much of his training and recovery routine on social media. So for a major condition like sciatica, which doesn't just appear overnight, to suddenly emerge without any prior indication, without any buildup or warning signs, that's suspicious. Sciatica typically develops over time. It's usually the result of chronic issues, herniated discs, degenerative conditions. You don't just wake up one morning with it out of nowhere. Unless, of course, you need a medical excuse that sounds legitimate enough to justify a 3-week absence. Let's look at LeBron's durability over his career. For most of his time in the league, he was legitimately an Iron Man. He played 70-plus games almost every season, he logged heavy minutes, he was available when it mattered. But as he's entered his late 30s and now 40, there's been a noticeable shift. More games missed, more mysterious ailments, more strategic absences. Is that just a natural result of aging? Of course, partially. Nobody expects a 40-year-old to play 82 games anymore. But the specific nature of these absences, the timing, the diagnoses, the miraculous recoveries, that's what fuels the conspiracy theories. When you come back from a supposedly debilitating injury looking better than you did before you got hurt, people are going to ask questions. When you miss the most meaningless games but always seem to be healthy for nationally televised matchups and playoff battles, people notice the pattern. There's an elephant in the room that needs to be addressed. Do we actually want full transparency about what elite athletes do to maintain their performance? The honest answer is probably no. We want the sausage, but we don't want to see how it's made.
Favorite baseball players to do as many steroids as possible.
Well,
I do.
Now, obviously, this is an extreme statement made for shock value, but it touches on a real truth about sports fandom. We celebrate players who push the boundaries of human performance. We marvel at recovery times that seem impossible. We worship athletes who defy aging in ways that previous generations never could. But we also want to maintain plausible deniability about how those achievements are actually accomplished. What we can say is that the whole situation raised valid questions about transparency, competitive fairness, and how much we really want to know about what goes into elite athletic performance. LeBron James is one of the greatest basketball players to ever live. That's not up for debate. But greatness doesn't exempt you from scrutiny, especially when the circumstances surrounding his absences seem designed to raise eyebrows. The conspiracy theory might be wrong, but it's not baseless. There's enough smoke here to justify people asking where the fire is. And in an era where sports are more manufactured and managed than ever before, maybe a little healthy skepticism isn't the worst thing in the world. Maybe we should be asking these questions instead of just accepting every injury report at face value. Because at the end of the day, we're not just talking about one player and one injury. We're talking about the future of professional sports, the ethics of performance enhancement, and what we're willing to overlook in pursuit of entertainment. The LeBron sciatica saga might seem like a minor controversy in the grand scheme of things, but it's actually a window into much bigger conversations that the sports world needs to have. And those conversations are just getting started.